Hello and welcome to the Mavpuckcast with Bridget
and Jon.
As always, with the Mavpuckcast, we're trying some different combinations, and tonight you're getting a first-time matchup with me and Jon talking about this last weekend series because Jason and Jolene were out of town with Lexi having another hockey tournament. And a little later, we're going to have a special guest appearance from Maddie the monkey.
Yep, Lexi's younger sister is going to appear on the podcast. She's been asking for years to appear on the podcast, so she finally gets her day on the podcast. So first time guest appearance by her. It should be fun for the fans to get to hear from a younger UNO hockey fan.
Yep, very exciting. But first, let's talk about this last weekend series. So UNO started conference play against Miami, which is always a tough matchup for our Mavericks. You and Jason predicted great things for the Mavericks last weekend, and we got a little bit of that on Saturday, but not so much on Friday. You want to run us through it?
Well, honestly, we were really close going into that Friday game. I thought the team had an opportunity to sweep this series. So did Jason. It was our first NCHC series of the season. As we know, the NCHC is, many people call it ad nauseum, the meat grinder conference. And I really felt going into the Friday game that we had an opportunity to set the tone. And really through the first couple of periods, I thought that we were going to come away with the victory. In our last 7 games leading into this game, against Miami over the past few seasons, we had only won 1 game. They had gone 5-1-1 according to the NCHC preview, and I knew that we'd had our struggles against them, but I was kind of surprised to realize that they had kind of controlled the series that well, considering some of the struggles that they had and a coaching change. Rico Blasi left the program, and former assistant Chris Bergeron came in, and certainly Brock Bremer got us off to a good start on Friday night with a quick goal for the Mavericks and put us up 1-0.
Yeah, and going into that third period, the Mavs were up 3-2, and I remember turning to you at one point and saying, I'd really feel a lot better if we were up by, a couple of goals, like 7 or 8 would probably make me comfortable. But I was a little worried because this Miami team, there's no quit in them at all, and that certainly was the case when they scored 2 goals within 19 seconds in the third period to take that lead.
Yeah, it was kind of a heartbreaking moment because early in the third, Tyler Weiss gets a goal. I was feeling pretty good at that point, 3-2, but I felt like we had the momentum, and then just quick, bing, bing, Miami gets 2 goals within about 20 seconds. And one of those goals, a lot of fans questioned because it looked like maybe Isaiah Seville had gotten run a little bit during one of those goals. Maybe he got interfered with, but alas, Miami ends up getting 2 quick goals, and that really kind of did it for the Mavs.
Yeah, they tried to battle back, but there just wasn't a lot of time to work with at that point. And that was just, again, a really disappointing moment because it ended the, win streak that the Mavs had up to that point. And again, you really don't want to start conference play off with a loss, especially with as well as they've been doing up to that point.
No, that's 3 big conference points on the line. You don't want to lose those early on because we have this every year where there's always a point in the second half of the season where we're trying to get home playoffs. And it's like, if we just gotten that win back in November against Miami, maybe it would have happened. But, the guys kind of had to dust themselves off, as Mike Gabinet alluded to in the post-game presser. It was one of those games where I think he said 29 out of 30 times, UNO wins that game. And they just came up a little bit short. That'll happen in these games. And so as a team, you have to be resilient. As Mike Gabinet says often, you have to trust the process. You just kind of have to get back at it. And Saturday night, I don't know how you felt going into that game. Miami, despite their struggles the last few seasons, and despite the fact that they haven't had a lot of success, honestly, they had to have a lot of confidence going into that Saturday night game. And so what was your impression of the Saturday night game as it got underway?
Well, you mentioned the word resilience. And like I said, that was one thing that struck me Saturday night, they came out with some jump right away, and they showed that they were just going to tuck Friday away in the, in the memory and just get to it. And I was really impressed by a lot of the players out there. I know Chase Primo appeared to be injured after Friday night's game, and so Ty Mueller got a chance to get in there, but the rest of the players certainly stepped up to the challenge and came away with a 4-1 win. Could have been a shutout. Felt a little bad for Isaiah. Questionable to my point, to my thinking. Power play for Miami led to that one score for the RedHawks. So like I said, I think it was an all around great performance, then bouncing back from that Friday night loss, and it gave them a split on the weekend, which, again, that was as good of an outcome as we were going to get at that point.
Yeah, people were talking about how well they skated on Saturday night. I thought they played really well in both the offensive and defensive zones. It was great to see Nolan Sullivan get his first goal of the season. Normally, he's one of those dependable scorers that we talk about all the time, but when you look at how balanced this roster is, that doesn't happen. But you mentioned it appeared that Chase Primo was injured. I had heard after the game that apparently he was. Martin Sundberg was out. But like you said, Ty Mueller, one of the freshmen, we're getting a lot of good production out of these young guys, Cameron Berg and Davis Pennington. It's great to see the young guys out of the gate performing, especially considering the depth that we have on this roster. So a great win for UNO, 4-1. But again, great to salvage the split in a series like this. In these early stages of conference play, you've got to rack up as many points as you can get. So getting 3 points on the weekend, I think, is good. Would have been great to get a sweep. They were 20 seconds away from a sweep on Friday night. Didn't quite happen. So my prediction didn't quite come true. We had a great time. You had a great time at the game, Bridge. The Saturday night game was our 500th UNO home hockey game. The last year I went back season by season and added up every home game. So 500 games we've been there. We have not missed a game. I know that sounds crazy to people, but you stay healthy and you organize your life around hockey, and this can happen for you too, UNO fans.
Yeah, and I was really surprised UNO didn't acknowledge it. Made me question our math. But we're perfectly, we'll put it out there on the blog. You can double check our math.
Exactly. Yeah. Aside from not like needing to honor us, just I thought they might mention that this was UNO's 500th home game. You know what I'm saying? So
they know it's the 400th home game. So I'm not sure why 500 being a bigger milestone didn't get the recognition. But like I said, we'll let everybody out there in Mavpuckcast land check our math. And I know that we've talked about in the past, they're planning on honoring the 25th season with some activities in 2022. I've heard some rumblings about what might be coming in the January home series. But like I said, I just, maybe you and I should do a little segment for a future one about how this all came about, because I know there's some new fans out there. But it is amazing to me, despite weddings and funerals and births and sickness and all kinds of stuff, that we've been able to make those 500 consecutive home games happen. So
yeah, we'll have to talk about that. It's one of those things that we didn't plan to do. It just kind of happened that way. And after a few seasons, you're like, hey, we haven't missed a game, so let's keep it going. So yeah, we'll have to talk about that at some point down the road. But talking about this Miami series, who is your player of the weekend, your player of the series? Who'd you like this weekend?
I don't often get to do this. You and Jason normally are picking the stuff. So I know, so I got to tell you first off, Maddie the monkey has already made her prediction. She called it. In fact, I have a video that I shot of a certain play that was pivotal in Saturday night's game, and she picked her player. So I had to kind of work from a narrowed roster. But my pick is going to be Brock Bremer. We had two guests with us on Saturday night. Our niece, Scotland, and our nephew, Blaze, came along for their first time in a couple seasons, because with the COVID protocols last year, we only had 2 of our seats available to us. So didn't bring any guests with us. And they have both proclaimed that Brock Bremer is their favorite player. So partially in a nod to them, but also because of his great performance in the game on Saturday. I was looking back to see, you know, he had his goal on Friday night, and I was actually wearing a number 26 jersey on Friday night. He didn't make it to the score sheet on Saturday night, but he was definitely noticeable for his play on the ice, because like I said, if a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old notice him, he's definitely doing the right thing. So he definitely could have had a couple more goals on the weekend, but I was just impressed by his hustle. He's a little guy, but he's speedy and he makes his presence known. And I'm just happy to call him out for his great play this weekend with my player of the series. How about you, John?
Well, before, let me mention on Brock Bremer, small, quick player, very exciting to watch. We actually got to see him December 2018 when we attended an Omaha Lancers game, and he was playing for the Muskegon Lumberjacks. We got to see him and Nolan Sullivan, and he was impressive in that game. So we've enjoyed his exploits with UNO, and it was great to see him have a good weekend. And like you said, you know, statistically speaking, it might not have shown up Saturday night, but he was out there and he's all over the ice. I went with freshman forward Ty Mueller, who got his first goal as a Maverick. It's been nice to see him in early this season. Injuries have allowed him to get into the lineup, and he was a player that I wrote a profile of on Mavpuck back when he was playing midget hockey. Again, he had the one goal on Saturday. It was during a Mav power play. But Gabinet, you know, talked about how he had really worked his way into the lineup. You know, when I wrote my profile, Bob Simmons, who was a scout for the Prince George Cougars, said that Ty Mueller is one of the smartest hockey players you will see. His hockey IQ is off the charts. And I think we're seeing that already. He's not only is a freshman, he's a very young freshman. So I'm excited to see where he goes going forward. A lot of great things to come, but I wanted to single out one of the freshmen because it's always exciting to see those, you know, new bulls, those young Mavericks performing well in the lineup. And I'm sure he was very excited, and it was great to see him get his first goal as a Maverick.
Today, we want to welcome a very special guest to the Mavpuckcast, Maddie Combs, otherwise known as Maddie the Monkey. Welcome, Maddie.
Hi.
Hi. All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How old are you and what grade are you in?
I'm 11 and I'm in 6th grade.
Okay, perfect. And I understand that you play hockey, although you're taking this season off. Tell our viewers what position or positions that you play, what you like about playing hockey.
I normally play wing or goalie, and every once in a while, my coach would put me in as center.
That's awesome. And what do you like about playing hockey?
I get to be with my friends and do something I enjoy.
Well, I've watched you play, and I can tell you the rest of us enjoy watching you play hockey probably as much as you enjoy playing it. So we hope to see you back out on the ice here again soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So tell us about, our viewers want to know, how did Maddie the Monkey come about? Where does the lucky monkey suit come from?
I don't really know that very much. I'm pretty sure it was like maybe 5 years ago or something. Somewhere like that I first started wearing them to the games.
And it was a Halloween costume to start with, wasn't it? And then
yeah, and then since I had worn it those 2 days and they won both of those days, I'm pretty sure, I was like, oh, this is a good look suit. I should wear it. So.
And it certainly has been. You've gotten to see a lot of victories over the years wearing the Lucky Monkey suit. And this year, I understand there's a new one, a new costume.
Yes, I'm wearing it now. Clearly.
This one doesn't have a banana though, right?
No. We are thinking about decapitating the banana from the other one and attaching it onto this one though.
Well, we know that the banana itself is not the good luck. It's definitely the suit and you that have given the Mavs so many wins over the years. So thank you for your service to the team. All right. So let's talk about this last weekend. Your parents were out of town, and so you came to the games with your grandma and grandpa, and thank you for sitting with us this weekend so that we could keep an eye on things. And I'm excited to talk to you about what you thought about the team this weekend. And in particular, I want to know, who is your player of the weekend and why?
My player of the weekend is Weiss, number 40, Tyler Weiss. Because last night, Saturday, he scored the penalty shot.
That was amazing. And you turned to me before he took the shot and you said, if he scores this, he's going to be my player of the weekend. And sure enough, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to ask, was your selection of Tyler Weiss influenced at all by your dad's constant stalking of him as a player?
A little bit, yeah.
But you picked him all on your own, didn't you? All right. And then usually your favorite player of the weekend is usually
it's Seville.
Yes, it is. And what's your special connection with him? Is it because you guys are both goalies?
Yeah, and he's actually coached my goalie camp once or twice, I'm pretty sure.
That's awesome. Any other thoughts on how the Mavericks played this weekend?
I would say they played pretty good.
Better Saturday than Friday.
Yes.
Not too bad, except for those last couple minutes on Friday, but
I would say the refs did not make some of the calls that I thought they should have made, but
ooh, that's an interesting take. I like hearing that.
There was a couple shots that definitely went in that they didn't call. And one of the goals that I think it was on Friday night that Miami got. It shouldn't technically have been a goal, and they should have gotten a penalty.
Wow.
Because they pushed our player into the net, into our goalie.
I agree with you on that one. That was definitely a head scratcher. I don't know what was going on there, why they thought that was not a penalty and the goal was allowed, but it's those little things about hockey that we love, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get to talk about it with our friends and here on the Mavpuckcast.
Yeah.
Well, Maddie, I want to thank you for your time. We've been talking about having you on the Mavpuckcast for a very long time, so I'm excited that we finally got that going, and I'm sure it will not be your last appearance.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure of that. I bet you the rest of my family will probably miss some more games.
Oh no! Well, we'll look forward to
not me.
Well, thanks again, Maddie. We appreciate it. Go Mavs.
Go Mavs.
All right. Turning our attention to our new segment this year, the shootout. I've got a couple topics for us to talk about. And the first one, John, is Baxter Arena announced just shortly before game time on Friday that they were dropping their mask requirement. That was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, it was a surprise that it happened at that point because they had tweeted earlier in the day that masks were still in force at Baxter Arena. The Omaha hockey accounts did, not the Baxter Arena account. So I don't know what the reason was for the change. Certainly there aren't any county guidelines or stipulations here in the city that say you have to have masks. So certainly it's at their discretion. I was kind of surprised as well. And you and I think were more surprised by the fact that, we were walking into the game and you and I had already made a decision with the 500 game attendance streak and wanting to keep that going for the rest of the season and for seasons to come, that we were going to continue to wear masks, but we were walking in from the parking lot and we were putting our masks on as we were walking. And the woman who was directing traffic was like, "You don't have to wear that mask."
And she wasn't the only one. I think there were 4 or 5 people on our way into the game that made the point to tell us that we did not have to wear the masks, which again, I know that they like to communicate changing information, but if they're going to say that masks are still encouraged, then hey, how about we have your staff not make a point to tell me that I don't have to wear it on the way in. So
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where I'm sure when they had the mask mandate and people came in without a mask, I'm sure that they told people, hey, you're going to need to wear a mask. Well, now, because you don't have the mask mandate, you just don't need to tell people that. You can kind of let it just sort of happen organically. If people come in with masks, great. If they come in without masks, that's fine as well. But like you said, if you're trying to encourage mask wearing, even though it's not a requirement, it does seem kind of odd to have, there were at least 4 staff members that were like, just so you know, you don't have to wear the mask. And it's like, I know I don't have to wear but Bridget told me I have to wear the mask. So
that's correct. That's a Bridget mandate. And
so
like
yeah,
it's because of the attendance streak.
It definitely is. I don't mind wearing one, and any little extra protection we can get. Both of our parents are in their 80s. They both have had significant health issues recently. I'm not willing to take an extra risk. So I'm fine with the mask. So staff members, you don't have to tell me that. It's okay. We're fine. Just let it happen organically.
Yeah, for sure. All right. The second segment, Saturday night, the Mavs were wearing the gray jerseys that they've been sporting on the Saturday night series, with the exception of the Long Island series, where Long Island was wearing their blue jerseys, and so they couldn't wear the gray. It would be a little too close. They wore the black road uniforms that night. And it brought up someone on Twitter tweeted at us wondering about how they could get some of those jerseys. And we had heard some, background information that they would be available for auction potentially at the end of the season, but we got a little bit of new information from Pat Lawler. Do you want me to read that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to pull it up, his tweet. He said, "We would love to have these jerseys too." And again, these are the gray jerseys they wore on Saturday night. "We placed an order last July. We will always order jerseys when offered by Adidas. Always," he emphasized. He said the initial delivery date was delayed until December or January, and now they are being told there are more delays with no stated ship date. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to hear that Pat was going to get them, because sometimes he hasn't been able, for whatever reasons, coordination with the athletic department, et cetera, he hasn't been able to get some of the jerseys, some of the special third jerseys. So it's great news to hear that he put in an order and he has made an attempt. Hopefully Pat will be able to get him, but I'm glad he got back to you. Pat's always a great guy, does a lot of great merchandise for UNO, and is just really, really good to the fans, and has always been good to Mavpuck. So I'm glad he got back to you.
Yep, no, that was exciting to see. All right, the third topic in our shootout segment is following up on something you and Jason had started, and that is ideas for increasing attendance at UNO hockey games. Now, I want to say I loved Jason's idea last week about the idea of a family pack. I'm a huge proponent of John Spilestra's marketing ideas for sports. I've read all of his books, Ice to the Eskimos, Marketing Outrageously, how to fill every last seat in the house. I can't remember the exact name of it, but great idea. And I love that Jason came up with that one. One idea that I had, and again, you and I have come up with a million ideas for UNO hockey over the years, but this is one that I think it's simple. It doesn't cost any money. So every week, I would like to see UNO hockey send out an email reminder, maybe 2, one on Friday, one on Saturday, that reminds people that there's a series this weekend, and maybe it's on Tuesday and Saturday, or just more than one email each week to remind people that there's games. And particularly since these seats are sold for season ticket holders, reminding them how easy it is for them to transfer the tickets within their MyMavs account, so that those seats that are already sold, at least they have fans in them. So it's an easy way to get more fans actually in the seats. It's not a way to necessarily increase seats sold, but it would be great to see more fans taking advantage of the tickets that are already sold.
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned the fact that it doesn't cost a lot of money. I remember back during the early years of the program, the early CCHA days, there was a big series against Michigan at the Civic Auditorium. And it might have been our first series against Michigan when we had just joined the CCHA back during the early days. And I remember, because it was a big series and because there had been some games where attendance was a little bit light during that season, they actually sent out a physical postcard encouraging people to either A, come to the game or give their tickets to somebody else. And that was before they had the digital database that they do now with all the email addresses. And since most people renew and pay online, they have that available. It doesn't cost anything. I would go ahead and send something like that out. I mean, it has the potential to help. It can't hurt. And just trying to get more people to, again, it's just the little things done consistently that make a big difference in the long run. So no, I think that that's a great idea. You and I talk about that all the time, talk about using your database to your advantage. So certainly I think that they should do that. And my thing is another free thing that UNO could be doing. And I as somebody who has run this fan site since January of 2000, I believe in new media, in blogs, in podcasts like this, et cetera, working with some of the fan sites, et cetera, to help promote your product. And sometimes I feel like, there's a bias towards the kind of legacy paid media, but more and more the audiences for those legacy outlets are becoming older, and that's not your future audience. When you look at the number of young people that's, basically TV for them is watching YouTube, you have to start to hit different media outlets. You look at the influencer culture online, you look at how companies like Apple have embraced various YouTubers out there to promote their products. Sure, they can have the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal tech writers write a review of the latest iPhone or MacBook Pro, but they go with these influencers online because the influencers get more eyeballs. That's something I would love to have the opportunity to be able to review. I'd like to review
You do a lot of reviews.
Believe me, I'd like to review the iPhone and the MacBook Pro. But I am not a tech YouTuber. We would love to have the opportunity to get to interview some of the administrators at UNO. We'd love to have the opportunity to interview Coach Gabinett. I believe that there's an opportunity for them to get their message and get their message unfettered out to the people that they're trying to reach and that they're trying to market to. And I'm not limited by 15-second sound bites. I'm not limited by column inches. We can go as long or as short as they want to. And you can really, when you do that and you work with influencers, you can start to really educate the audience on what it is you're doing. So I'd love to have the opportunity to do that. And again, that's kind of an indirect way. It's not like, having a family ticket plan or your idea of reminding people, but over the long haul, it's one of those things that can really start to build a community around UNO hockey. And when you talk to people, that's the biggest thing today, is being able to build a community. And sometimes when it comes organically from the fans, it's received better than when it looks like it's a marketing strategy from the athletic department or a corporation in the case of products. So I'd love to have the opportunity to do that. I hope as time goes by, they'll start to embrace some of these bloggers, because I know other schools like North Dakota have allowed access to various bloggers and fan sites, and I really think it benefits their program.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't want to sit in the press box. I love my seats in 216. But, they used to broadcast the Tuesday press conferences. And so fans could tune into that from wherever they were and go back and access it later and get that kind of connection with the players and the coaches that were featured on that. And I'm really disappointed that they went away from that, because it was free, as you mentioned, and it created that community and connection. And I know UNO has been doing a much better job with their social media channels, their Instagram account, Twitter, Facebook. But again, like you said, so much of the media today is fragmented. So not just that legacy media where, folks aren't necessarily tuning into Channel 6 or, reading the World Herald, because some of those articles are behind a paywall, but having the most outlets available so that fans can access the information where they are, not necessarily where, the team wants to put it out. So I know that it can be a tough thing to do to cede control to other folks, other types of outlets. But like you said, North Dakota has done it successfully. We've seen it in other schools as well. And so I think that would be a great way for them to increase the eyeballs that are paying attention to UNO hockey. And hopefully that translates to butts and seats.
Yeah, you've got to go to where the people are.
Yep. All right. As we look forward to, we've ended this 10-game home streak. The Mavs now turn their attention to their next conference opponent. They head to St. Cloud State, a place where you and I have been a couple of times in the past, to the Herb Brooks Center for a Friday-Saturday series, November 12th and 13th. What are your thoughts about that series?
Well, first of all, I'd say yes, we have been up there a couple of times, and it's always a great trip. And one of the things that I would say, when you look at some of the fans that we interact with from other NCHC teams online, their fans are some of the most enjoyable to interact with. Some of the fans aren't, but their fans are really good. And there was actually a St. Cloud fan in the building who was making his way to the St. Cloud series that took place this last weekend at Colorado College. He was driving down and he stopped in Omaha on Friday night and took in our game. That's Fight the Pants on Twitter, a fan that we follow, and he follows us. I got a chance to meet him before the game. Certainly, I wish he'd gotten to see UNO win the game, but sounds like he had a great time. But regardless, we're going on the road. We're playing on the Olympic ice sheet, which is always an interesting logistical challenge for teams that aren't used to playing on that. And this is our first road series, as you mentioned. I'm kind of glad to have a break from the home games. Looking at the series, there are a couple of players that I would encourage fans to watch. Grad student Kevin Fitzgerald, one of our favorite NCHC players over the years. He leads the team with 5 goals and 8 assists. He's a player that steadily improved from his freshman year on up. And then another one is junior Yami Kranola, who's just a really talented player, and he has 6 goals and 4 assists on the team. So those two are definitely ones to watch. They've outscored their opponents 38-14 this season. So this is the biggest test. They outscored the likes of Mankato, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Colorado College. So definitely not an easy slate to start the season. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be a little optimistic this week. I'm going to say that UNO splits. I think I'm going to say that we win Friday and we lose on Saturday night to the Huskies.
Okay. And I love that you did a couple of player highlights, because I was going to mention David Rennick, their goaltender, who feels kind of like the Hunter Shepherd of, St. Cloud, where he's been there for years and years. I think he's a graduate student now too, with all those extra years granted to COVID players last year, or players because of COVID. I guess they're not COVID players.
Yeah, he feels like he's been there 12 and a half years now. So
yep, just right behind Hunter Shepherd for sure.
Yep.
But he is such an impressive guy in net. His goals against average, he's averaging just over 2 goals allowed per game. His save percentage is consistently above 90%. If he is on his game, it is going to be tough for our Mavericks to put some goals behind him. But the thing you talked about with the Huskies outscoring their opponents, they get off to a fast start. I looked up a couple stats too, John. I can play this game too. But they are out shooting their opponents, or outscoring their opponents 10-0 in the first period, and 14-0 now after this last series, and 13-6 in the second period. So one key to the game for the Mavericks is they've got to get on the score sheet early. And I think that we've seen that in the past too, maybe not necessarily from this year's team, but in past Maverick teams. It's harder for them to play from behind. So I'm optimistic if the Mavs can play like they did on Saturday night, and they can get on the score sheet early, that we've got a chance to, like you said, get a split. But I'm going to go the opposite direction. I think maybe they have a little bit tougher time adjusting to that Olympic ice sheet, their first road series of the year. And I think that they lose on Friday night, but I think they come back and get the split with a win on Saturday night.
Okay, so we're both doing a split. And like you said, we really haven't had to come back from a significant deficit in a game. We haven't had to come back from a 2 or 3 goal deficit. So the big question is, how do we respond if we get down early? And we'll find out how resilient this team is in their first NCHC test of the season, how they do in this game. It's going to help set the tone for the rest of the first half. So this is a big opportunity for the players. We're both picking a split. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. Come on, Mavs, let's get 3 points out of this series. It would be fantastic. So Bridget and I will be cheering you on.
Yep. And if you want to catch that game and you're not going to make the trip up to St. Cloud, remember, you can watch those games on NCHC TV. If you're like me and John, you have a subscription to watch all of the games in the NCHC because we like to tune in and see how the other teams in the conference are doing. But you can also get just the weekend games also on nchc.tv. So be sure and tune into that.
Right. See, they really need to give us an affiliate link and an affiliate code so we can earn some commission on that sales pitch, Bridge.
Man, I am pimping it for free constantly. So yeah, they definitely should. But
you're doing a great job, and you will, of course, be live tweeting the games. It should be a lot of fun. So be sure to follow Mavpuck on Twitter this weekend. You can also follow us on Facebook, where we have a different set of updates that we do. And you can find links to our social media channels at mavpuck.com, as well as back episodes of this podcast, both audio and video. And so you can see all of the various hosting combinations and pint-sized guests that we're having on the podcast this season. So
we try and keep it fresh for the fans.
That's right. So until next time, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.